Good afternoon. Very excited to spend some time with you on one of my favorite topics, prospect nurturing. So I'm Dave Carroll. I head up product marketing for the marketing solutions business. I came to LinkedIn through Bizzo, which some of you might know was acquired by LinkedIn last summer. I was CMO at Bizzo, working for this guy for about 4.5 years. So very excited to kick off the prospect nurturing track. I think over the last 5-10 years, I think you'll all agree, there's a ton of progress that I think we've collectively have made in this whole area of prospect nurturing. And I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. I think that's really the focus of our conversation today. To kick that off, our first presenter, Russ Glass, who is heading products for the LinkedIn Marketing Solutions business and also former CEO of Bizzo. Hand off to you.
Thank you. We'll try that down slightly. Thanks. So, yeah, a little background. Came to LinkedIn from Bizzo, where I was the founder and CEO. And over the years, we really were thinking a lot about how do we create better experiences for marketers to reach professionals more effectively. And a little bit of background here on LinkedIn, because I think it helps to set the context of, why we think we can actually help marketers be more effective with this combination of Bizzo and LinkedIn. And, LinkedIn's mission is really to help professionals become more successful, right? And what's interesting about it, as a guy that is a startup guy, an entrepreneur, and somebody who, had these lofty missions, but never totally believed that we were going to be able to accomplish it. If you look at what LinkedIn has done and is doing, this is actually sort of real, right? So at this point, we're at 364 million professionals in the LinkedIn network. It's well over half of the world's professional audience. What's even more just blows my mind is about 200,000 join every day, so 2 million every 10 days. So the amount of reach that LinkedIn has attained, combined with the growth rate, really means that this mission is an attainable mission for the platform. And when you look at that audience and how that audience interacts out in the world, it's a very powerful audience, right? So of course, most people think of LinkedIn as a B2B platform, right? A platform that you use to access professionals. But what's interesting is these are the people that are buying things online also. And a lot of people don't think of it that way, but it sort of makes sense, right? It's if you've got a job, right, and you have money coming in, then you can afford to pay for things. And if you're engaging on a platform like LinkedIn, you're sort of in that top half, right, of people in the world that are online, they're engaging, they're buying things, and they actually become a very powerful consumer base as well. So when we look at that background and this audience that we have access to, and we take all this capability that Bizzo has built around helping marketers reach their audiences more effectively, and we bring those together, we really believe we have this powerful opportunity to help marketers be more effective at reaching these audiences and solve some key challenges that they have today in this very, very quickly changing world, as the last speaker talked about in the other room. A few big challenges, right? One is this notion of a very different buyer's journey, this universe where buyers are basically doing their own things. They're searching for keywords, they're searching for your products on search engines, they're going to social media, they're asking their friends through these different mechanisms, they're going to review sites, they're going to Reddit, right? All of these different places where they're accessing information that you may or may not, as a marketer, be putting out there, right? In fact, on average, they're consuming about 10 pieces of content before making any purchase decision. And so what this implies is if you want to have an effective sort of funnel as a marketer, you've got to be everywhere, right? You have to have your stuff available on mobile, on tablets, on the different devices, maybe soon the Apple Watch, right, that people are using to search for content. You have to be able to understand what kinds of information they're looking for at different stages of that buying funnel, right? It's a very daunting task to be able to actually help lead buyers through this funnel. So we looked at that and said, well, what if you could get that right? Right? What if you could change how this funnel was working? Hold that thought. Today, the world we're in, it's not working, right? It's sort of totally broken. And if you look at the sort of ratios that we see on average out there, of all the people that come to marketers' websites, 95 to 99% of them go away, show up, leave, don't provide any sort of information. Even the ones that do provide information, this is sort of this incredible stat, even the ones that do provide information don't open your emails, right? They get delete-titis, right? They just have to get through their inbox. There's too much in there. And when you combine all that, it means that marketing is incredibly inefficient. It means that what we're doing today and the messages we're putting in front of our prospects are actually not resonating, right? Or at least it's not resonant enough for them to want to take a next step. But if you could do this right, if you could provide the right information at the right time for these users, if you could listen to what they're looking for more effectively and create better experiences across this funnel, what would happen, right? Some really good things. You'd reach the right people, right? You'd actually be focusing your efforts on the people that mattered, and that could actually change their both opinions of you as well as what their process is going to be through this buying cycle. You deliver the right content to that buyer based on who they are, based on the kinds of things they're looking for. And then ultimately, you'd have an understanding of where they are in that buying cycle, right? Are they brand new in the buying cycle? If they are, they probably have no interest in things like pricing. They don't even know what you do yet. But if they're late in the buying cycle, it's not helpful to give them some sort of, here's who we are, right? They need deeper information. They need more relevant information at that cycle. And if you can get all that right, you can really change the dynamics of the interactions that you have with those customers. And this is effectively what we're trying to do to help marketers be more successful at LinkedIn. So from a marketing solutions mission, we want to be the most effective platform to help professionals reach their audiences more effectively. And about 3 months ago, with a launch of a brand new suite of products, we're beginning that journey. And if you look at the entire platform, it really is the only full funnel platform set of capabilities that help you at the top of the funnel with display advertising products reach your prospects with the right contexts very early in their process, reach them with high frequency, reach them with brand messages. Once you start to engage them, the sponsored content platform, the sponsored email platform allows you to start to engage them with high value content. And what we're going to talk about today is Lead Accelerator, the nurturing platform that allows you to listen, understand what prospects are doing, and actually put the right messages at the right time in front of them. And we've wrapped all of this with analytics and reporting to help you optimize and measure. So Lead Accelerator, our prospect nurturing platform, basically has a few core missions, right? One, we've got to fix this broken funnel where people are either being targeted without effectiveness or even when they're being targeted with effectiveness, so we're not hitting them with the right message at the right time. We've got to change that to where we can convert those users into people that we can communicate more effectively with. That's one thing the product's trying to accomplish. The second thing is engage those deletitis people, right? The people that are deleting all of the emails that you're trying to communicate them with. Because if you think you're having a conversation with a prospect, but they're not opening their emails, you're really not having a conversation with the prospect. And we're trying to help solve that problem. So you can continue the conversation even if they're just being inundated with emails. Finally, how do we measure all this, right? How do we actually listen to what the customer is saying and how they're voting with their email address or with their pocketbook or with their click that says, yes, actually what you provided is relevant. And with their behavioral change, you can start to understand if this is actually working or not. So you could really think of the product itself as a marketing automation platform. So you probably have heard of Marketo, Eloqua, other email-based engines. The biggest difference is simply that we're taking some of the same philosophies of marketing automation, looking at the behaviors of those audiences, but we're moving it from the known world to the anonymous world. We're moving it from people you know and you can actually reach with marketing automation emails, and moving it into a world where now you can do the same sort of nurturing with social media, with display advertising, with mobile advertising across all of these different channels. So you're taking this very effective but small scale type activity and moving it to huge scale. Talked before about the LinkedIn audience. This is kind of where it all keys off, right? We have an understanding of all of these professionals. So we can use that understanding in order to scale up, ladder up in effect, the same kind of a capability that you have today in the marketing automation world to a much broader world. So that starts that kind of gives us the power that we need to accomplish these solutions. So how does it work? First step is we put the LinkedIn tag on your website. And that gives us sort of three core capabilities, three major functionalities that are the basics, the core of how this all works. First thing is we give you an understanding of who's coming to your site from a LinkedIn audience perspective, right? Who's coming to this page? Who's coming to that page? What are the trends over time? Who's converting? Who's not converting? Right? What behaviors are they exhibiting on the site? The second big thing that this tag allows us to see is the behaviors that they're exhibiting on the site and how those behaviors actually indicate where in the buying process they are. So now, if you think about it, with this kind of capability, we know this is an IT person. We know they're in a certain industry, the finance industry, let's say. And we know they're interested in this set of products. We even can tell how deep in the buying process they are based on their behaviors. What kinds of pages are they looking at on your websites? We're in effect listening to the customer based on who they are and what they're doing. This tag then also gives us the ability to reach those individuals once they leave your website, across social media, across LinkedIn, across Facebook, across devices, and across the web. So that's step one, instrumenting and listening. Step two is, once we have an understanding of the website, we have an understanding of the people that are coming and what they're doing, is sequencing and orchestrating messaging, very similar to how you might do in an email campaign, where the first wave has a certain message, second wave has another one, third wave has another one. We're doing this with social media. We're doing this with display, mobile, creative. And as we see that, let's say that IT person from the finance industry is interested in this specific product, we're going to send them through an orchestrated set of creative to help them move through that buying journey and help create this one-to-one experience for them and this relevant experience for them to make their understanding of your product or service better, help convert more often, help move them down the funnel more frequently. We're then going to use the power of LinkedIn's data to help them fill out forms, help them convert, help them become a known prospect for you. And the power of this is particularly significant in the mobile world, where forms are just hard to fill out today, right? But if one click, they can pull all their LinkedIn data in and submit, that changes the dynamics of those mobile form fills. We're going to provide all the optimization capabilities to allow you to see what creative's working, what waves are working, what audiences are working, what product messages are working. A/B test very easily right out of the box and ultimately improve your messages over time and your relevance over time. And then ultimately, we're going to give you all of the analytics, not just to measure the standard stuff, right? The click-through rates and the conversion rates. Important, but we're going to help you understand throughout that buying process, how are our behaviors changing, right? So exposed, unexposed looks at when somebody's seeing these messages, how's their behavior changing? Are they engaging more often? Are they coming back and visiting your sites and your properties more often? Are they exhibiting the behaviors you want them to exhibit in order to prove that they're moving down that buyer's journey more effectively, right? Particularly for longer sales cycles, this is critical information. Those are sort of the 5 steps of the product to create this much better experience for users. Importantly, though, you're not alone. So it's a very powerful product, right? It can be a very complex product. We basically bring a crack team of consultants to sit down with you, and we're actually going to talk to a couple of them later today. Sit down with you and help you understand how this works, help you understand what strategies are working for other customers, and how do you plan for orchestrating your site effectively. They help you create the nurture streams based on experiences that we've had in the past, help you launch campaigns, and then iterate over the first month and optimize over the first month. So ultimately, not only are you seeing success, but through that process, you become an expert. And you can continue that success over time. The goal, right, is customer journey. How do we create better experiences for our customer? How do we solve some of the problems I talked about earlier with the funnel being a very inefficient place today? And as a marketer, how do we create the right messages that lead to results? So to make it real, before I open it up for questions and the next parts of this track, imagine you're a small business owner. Just put yourself in the mind of a customer, right, or a prospect. Imagine you're a small business owner and you need a new business credit product. So what does that journey look like, right? So what do? They're the sort of blue at the top here. First, they start learning about their options, like what's out there for me. Then they may visit a website. It might be yours, might be competitors, might be multiple different websites. Again, they're going through this sort of their own buyer's journey, right, that every buyer kind of goes through individually. They come to the website. They're one of the 95% in all likelihood that leaves. They then may do some more research. They might fill out a form somewhere, may fill out a couple of forms. They may even go to a bank and visit in person. They may do this all online. Ultimately, they make a decision and they become a customer. So if you think about all of those different points in that journey, there's a lot of opportunity to lose that prospect, right? They're making multiple decisions along that path that may or may not be to your benefit. So with Lead Accelerator in place, the idea here is that that's no longer random. The idea here is that you're capturing the attention of that prospect at the right times and putting the information in front of them so they're making more informed decisions based on your unique differentiation, based on why your product's better than your competitor products, et cetera. So the new journey here is, first of all, you want to have some awareness in front of that prospect from the beginning, right? Because if you're not in the consideration set, they won't even know to look for you. So that's sort of step one. be part of the conversation. Then they come to your website. Critical that when they leave, you continue the conversation. So Lead Accelerator picks up there based on who they are, small business owner, based on the products and services that they're looking at, where it sees they are in the buyer's journey, and starts putting messages in front of them. When they go to continue their research, they're not going to see only the random research they're looking at. They're going to start to see your messages. Some ads from you, some social media from you, some content from you that helps them continue to think about you. They're going to drive you back into, or they're going to drive that prospect back into an experience to fill out a form, where now you can continue a conversation, whether it's a live phone call or in person, or marketing automation that's synced with Lead Accelerator so that the messages they get via email are orchestrated with the messages they get out across the web. And we can see, are they opening those emails or not? If they're not, you may have one set of messages. If they are, you may have a different set of messages. And ultimately drive them into a much higher likelihood to convert situation because you're continuing that conversation. And in an always-on way, this is happening across all of the hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, millions of small business owners that are coming to your websites. So incredibly powerful. You know, I can talk for a long time about it. I think the idea today was that we would bring some customers up that are actually using this and talk about how this is fitting into their mix, their experiences with it, what's working, where they've struggled, and have that conversation. Before that, though, I'm happy to take a couple questions, and then we'll get Dave up here to talk to some of the customers. Thank you.
So any questions? Sure.
So basically, yeah. So first, yeah, it's basically our tags. It's not necessarily social login, although autofill is like social login, but it's a similar concept, a pixel, yeah. For the autofill, correct. Their autofill is an opted in. We pull their information in. If they're not logged in, then they'll be asked to log in. Yeah, so both on LinkedIn, so sponsored updates, display ads, and off LinkedIn. If they're on Facebook, we can serve ads in the news feed. If they are across the web, we can serve display ads. So that's part of the technology that Bizzo's basically brought to the table. So when you put that tag, when we put that tag on the website, we now can see a LinkedIn member ID in effect. We can see exactly what that member has been doing on your website. We can associate that with their anonymous member information, so it's all safe from a privacy perspective. But then we take all that and apply it to being able to reach them out across the web, across websites, Facebook. It is cookie based. So it's cookie based, but it's also sort of backed by a member ID. So it does, if they clear their cookies in certain scenarios, we may stop following them, but we all, as long as they're coming to LinkedIn, we know who that member is, can re-drop a cookie on that browser or basically reassociate that information. So one of the advantages LinkedIn has in general is that we've got this huge member base, right? So it's different than your typical cookie-based technologies, even though we're leveraging cookies. Thank you. So the question is, yeah, right. So just generate, yeah. So if I don't know if everybody heard that. So basically the question is content relevant. So how do you create content that works? So one principle is be helpful, right? So how do you create content that's actually helpful to that buyer? And part of being helpful is understanding kind of where that buyer is in the process, right? Understanding who they are. So, if it's someone from a small business, certain types of content for enterprises it just won't be useful, right? So that's a simple example, but you can extrapolate that out. And the more you can think about creating content that's helpful, that it creates a good experience for the user, the more you're going to see that content both consumed as well as shared, right? Because they're gonna find that useful, and so when somebody asks them, they'll kind of distribute that content. I think the second sort of core philosophy when it comes to being good at content is persona. Be persona driven, right? So be really thoughtful about who your customers are, and only once you really kind of understand that at a very fundamental level, create content for that user, right? Because what I see a lot out there is people like have a high level understanding of who their personas are, but they're not getting below that surface level. And it's when you get below that surface level, like, for instance, what do your buyers care about, right? Not just like what their job title is, but what do they care about? What makes them successful? What makes them a failure, right? What do they worry about? The deeper you can get there, the better and more successful you can be with your content efforts. Anything else you'd add there from a Mac perspective?
Yeah, I think we'll get into it when we get into the actual workshop itself.
I mean, I can add, let's go for it.
Yeah, but I think I can also say more about the stage of buyer's journey too, just making sure that you're developing the right content for that persona, but also where they're at within that stage of the funnel.
Yeah,
who they are, but also where they are in their purchase cycle.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think, the big mistake, and I know me and my team, we put a lot of thought into it, is sometimes you don't know when to go for the close in marketing, where you've nurtured them, and in my team, we invest a lot in white papers and ebooks, and you are trying to add value before they're ready to engage your brand, but then there's that point in the journey where they're ready to engage, they want to know your product, and very often search campaigns or display, or you're sending them back to a thought leadership piece when they're actually looking for an ROI calculator or looking for a free demo. So being able to kind of know those signals of where they are in the journey and who they are allows you to kind of map, as Pierre says, to the content to the right place in the journey.
Yeah, and a lot of marketers have those signals. They understand what those signals are, but then they don't really listen. Like they don't have the instrumentation to listen to when a customer is saying, I'm ready, right? Because I'm spending a bunch of time on a ROI calculator or on a pricing page or on something that shows that they really need somebody to talk to at this point.
Other questions? So one more, Russ. I think, because you did talk about how this can sync with marketing automation. Maybe if you can drill the onion a little bit. We've all made investments in marketing automation. How does this play in there?
Yeah.
How does that sync up?
So, as I talked about earlier, right, marketing automation is kind of the first way that, as marketers, we've all become able to create one-to-one conversations at a bit more scale than, being able to shake someone's hand, right? It's someone gives us their email information, we now can use that plus, in often cases, some of the behaviors on websites, some of the content they've consumed in order to put them through these, what we call drip marketing or nurture marketing flows. And the integrations that we've done with Eloqua and Marketo specifically allow us to understand, okay, somebody is in this nurture list, they've consumed certain pieces of content, they're getting these emails, we want to continue that journey outside of the inbox, right? We want to continue that journey so that when they are around the web, there's an orchestration of message. Today, if you think about the way it's working, you got your email campaigns, and you've got your display ad campaigns, and then you have your social campaigns. And they don't really sync, right? They don't often connect in the middle. And this is where we can actually create a connection. So basically we're syncing IDs with the marketing automation system. And by creating that sync, we can see if they're opening the emails. And if they are opening the emails, you might put a different set of content in front of them to move them farther down the funnel because they've already received a piece of content they've interacted with or even clicked with. If they're not opening those emails, you know the conversation is stalled. You're not actually having a conversation. You're just throwing things in their inbox. So we're going to start a little higher funnel, potentially in this example, in this nurture way. So those are the kinds of things you can do now when you connect Lead Accelerator with your marketing automation platform. And again, it goes back to listening to the customer and providing great experiences, right? Being helpful to them based on being able to listen to what they're doing, being able to convert that into an understanding of where they are, and then putting the right and useful content in front of them to be helpful. Okay. Please.
Two things. So
Yeah.
you talk about the launch pad, and maybe we'll get into that a little bit more, but does that serve as like assist with how to balance sponsored updates against network displays and in-mail, and how to find the right balance across all of those? And then two, what other email marketing systems, you mentioned Alpha, do you integrate with?
Yeah, both good questions. So you're actually going to see kind of a mock launchpad later, which I think will be helpful to understand what it's all about. But it really is a thorough process in thinking about, okay, who's your audiences, who you really care about, your personas, what are the paths you want, the experiences you want for them to have, right, in order to have a good experience with you and get the right content to make good decisions. And then how do you strategize your orchestration, your web page setup, or your tagging setup in order to create those experiences. So that's, they will go through all that. They can also help you with, based on what your goals are. So do you have some top funnel goals? You need more awareness, right? You should be doing some top funnel display advertising in conjunction with Lead Accelerator to drive more people into this funnel. They'll help you think about, do you have a lot of mid-funnel engagement, but you're struggling to get that mid-funnel down into a converted state? That could also be, you want to augment Lead Accelerator with some sponsored email and some so they can help you think through all that. But the goal is, we just want to create a bunch of experts, right? How do we sit down and make the investment, which is an expensive investment for us, but at the end of the day, if we can make marketers really thoughtful about this, not only do we create great experiences for our members, but we create great ROI for our marketers, right? The second question, so 2 integrations that we've completed now are Marketo and Eloqua. So really powerful. We'll continue as we see opportunities and we think marketers need it. We'll continue to think about other integrations.